There's a saying in Africa that women hold up half the sky. I think God sees women in those terms. God sees women as sisters to the brothers. God sees women as fully equal with men. God sees women as wonderfully gifted people, and who are sinners and need redemption as well. So I think God has a fully rounded view of women. I speak as an evangelical Christian, and so I hold the Bible in very high esteem, and I want what I believe to be in accordance with Scripture. And certainly there was a time when I thought that the plain meaning of Scripture was that men had headship over women in the family and in the church. That was not to be an oppressive headship, but seemed at that time to be the clear meaning of Scripture. I believe there's another reading of Scripture within the family and within the church. So in terms of the family, it says in Ephesians 5:22 that women should be subject to their husbands. But of course, it comes after verse 21, which says that we should be subject to each other. So there's a mutual submission in marriage. Now, the way that works itself out is different in Ephesians 5. In particular, Paul is challenging the idea of male headship, and he's saying, okay, if you want to be a head, this is how it works out. Paul was taking over the Roman custom of having tables of rules for the family, and the man would be the head of the family. And so that would have been common in the culture of the time. And Paul's saying, okay, if you want to be the head, fine. This is what a head does. A head gives himself up, dies for his wife, like Christ died for the church. So I think the way that headship works out is reframed and reinterpreted by Paul in a way of service and not of domination or dominion. He's taking over an already existing cultural construct, reinterpreting it, deconstructing it, so that we understand that if there's headship, it doesn't mean making decisions. There's nothing in Ephesians 5 about the man is the head, therefore the man makes the decisions, which is the traditional conservative interpretation. It says, if you want to be the head, die. End of story. So we look at the teachings of the Bible in terms of family and church, and what does the Bible say about women in leadership. And of course, within church, the other passage is in 1 Timothy, where it says that women should not teach or have authority over men. And at first glance, that does appear to be a prohibition on women in leadership, teaching authoritatively in a local church, eldership. And it goes on to say, for Adam was created first and then Eve, so therefore Adam has the priority. And Eve was deceived, therefore they shouldn't have the ability to teach, because women are flighty, irrational, emotional creatures and need to be cared for by men. And then it says women are saved through childbirth. Now, what is that about? What is going on there? Well, in that passage of Timothy, Paul is actually giving 3 commands. The first command is that prayers should be offered. He says, let prayers be offered. Then he says, let men worship lifting up holy hands. And then he says, let women learn. Now, that was a radical command, because women were not allowed to learn the Torah. Now, if you can imagine, lots of women are coming into faith in the Messiah, Jewish women coming into faith in the Messiah, possibly also some Gentile women coming to faith in the Jewish Messiah, and obviously having no knowledge of the Torah either. In such a context, they would have to learn. And Timothy, a youngish leader of a local congregation, was told by Paul, let women learn. Don't stop them from learning. They've got to learn. They're following the Messiah. They've got to learn. Now, in a context like that, they would have to learn in silence, because that was the educational style of the day. They didn't have interactive lessons around a table or whiteboards or anything like this. You would have a teacher, a rabbi, teaching, and people would listen. And this is still the case in many parts of the world today. And you listen silently. You listen respectfully. You take in the information, the banking concept of education. You take it in and you learn it. That's what women were encouraged and allowed and permitted to do. And Timothy was commanded to let them. In such a context, you would not have women teachers, because they don't know anything. Whether or not women should teach later on when they know stuff, the Bible tells us nothing. It says, let them learn. Adam was created first and then Eve. So Eve's a human being as well as Adam. So she should be taught. Eve was deceived. So women have got to be protected from deception by being taught, by learning. So the whole passage is about why should women be allowed to learn? So they won't be deceived anymore. And what is it about being saved through childbirth? And giving birth to a child does not save anyone. Instead, the translation might well be from the Greek, saved through the birth of the child. Who could be? Guess who? Jesus.